The alien queen and her soldiers saw me fighting, barehanded, and froze. The floor of the arena was cold, even though fire burned in tall towers around it. The metal plates beneath were stained dark from old battles. The air smelled of smoke, blood, and fear. Thousands of alien voices filled the massive space, echoing like thunder. They had gathered to watch death. At the center of the arena stood a single human. He was tall compared to some species, smaller than others, but he stood straight. His hands were bound behind his back with glowing restraints. His clothes were torn, dirty, and soaked with dried blood that was not all his own. His face showed bruises and cuts, yet his eyes were sharp and awake. He did not look at the crowd. He looked forward, breathing slowly. Around the arena stood alien soldiers in perfect lines. Their armor shone under the lights. Their weapons were charged and ready. They had fought many wars across many worlds. To them, this was not a battle. It was a lesson for prisoners and a show for the people. High above, on a floating platform of black stone and gold, sat the alien queen. She was large, taller than any soldier, her form covered in layered armor that was part metal and part living tissue. Her crown curved upward like sharp wings. Her eyes glowed faintly as she watched the arena below. She had ruled for centuries. She had seen species rise and fall. To her, humans were weak creatures that talked too much and broke too easily. This one resisted capture, said a commander standing beside her. He killed 3 guards before being restrained. The queen tilted her head slightly. With what weapon? None, the commander replied. He used his hands. A few nobles nearby laughed softly. Hands were tools for eating, not killing. The queen did not laugh. She studied the human again. Below, a horn sounded. The noise cut through the crowd, and silence slowly followed. The execution was about to begin. A gate opened on the far side of the arena. Heavy footsteps echoed as the first soldier stepped out. He was massive, his armor thick, his blade long and sharp. He had trained since birth for war. His movements were calm, controlled, confident. The human lifted his head. The restraints on his wrists sparked and released. The metal cuffs fell to the floor with a dull clang. A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. This was not planned. The commander turned sharply toward a technician, shouting orders. Before anyone could react, the soldier charged. The alien raised his blade and swung with practiced force, aiming to cut the human in half. The human moved. He stepped inside the swing, too close for the blade to follow. His shoulder slammed into the soldier's chest. The impact echoed through the arena. The soldier staggered back, confused. No being without armor should hit that hard. The human grabbed the soldier's wrist, twisted it with brutal speed, and the blade fell. Before it hit the ground, the human struck the soldier's throat with the edge of his hand. There was a sound like cracking stone. The soldier collapsed, armor hitting the floor, unmoving. Silence flooded the arena. The crowd did not cheer. They did not speak. Thousands of alien eyes stared at the fallen warrior, then at the human standing over him, chest rising and falling. The queen leaned forward. That was luck, a noble whispered. The queen raised one clawed finger. The noble fell silent. Another gate opened. Then another. 3 soldiers entered this time, spreading out, weapons raised. They moved with care now, watching the human closely. The human flexed his fingers. His knuckles were split and bleeding. He wiped his hands on his torn clothing and took a slow breath. The soldiers attacked together. One lunged from the left, blade aimed low. Another fired an energy pulse from a distance. The third jumped forward, trying to crush the human with sheer weight. The human rolled across the floor as the energy blast scorched the metal where he had stood. He came up behind the first soldier, grabbed the back of the alien's helmet, and slammed its face into the ground. The helmet cracked. The soldier went limp. The second soldier swung wildly, panic entering his movements. The human caught the weapon arm, pulled it close, and drove his elbow into the joint. Armor bent. The alien screamed. The third soldier finally reached him, wrapping thick arms around his chest, trying to crush him. The human roared. It was not a shout of fear. It was raw, violent sound pulled from deep inside. He headbutted the soldier again and again until the alien loosened his grip. Then the human twisted free, jumped onto the soldier's back, and pulled hard. The soldier fell forward, neck broken. The second soldier tried to crawl away. The human did not let him. When it was over, 4 soldiers lay broken on the arena floor. The crowd erupted, but not with joy. The sound was sharp, confused, afraid. The queen rose slowly from her throne. "Enough," she said. Her voice carried through the arena without speakers. Every being froze. She stared down at the human. You fight without honor. Without weapons. Without fear. The human looked up at her. Blood ran from his nose. His chest was marked with burns. Still, he stood. I fight to live, he said simply. The translator drones hesitated, then repeated his words in many languages. Murmurs spread again. The queen studied him for a long moment. Bring more, she commanded. 10 soldiers entered. These were elite. Their armor was darker, their movements smoother. They formed a circle around the human, weapons aimed but not firing. The human slowly turned, watching each of them. His breathing steadied, his posture changed. He lowered his center, feet planted firmly. He looked less like a prisoner now and more like a storm waiting to break. The soldiers attacked. This time, it was chaos. Energy blasts filled the air. The human used fallen bodies as cover, rolling, sliding, charging forward when the gap appeared. He ripped a weapon from one soldier and smashed it into another's face instead of firing it. He leapt onto a third, using the alien's own weight to bring him down hard. Each movement was fast, brutal, and efficient. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. Soldiers fell one by one. Some tried to retreat. Others froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. Training told them this should not be possible. Their eyes told them it was happening anyway. The queen's claws dug into the arm of her throne. This species, she said quietly, was classified as low threat. The scholar beside her swallowed. The data may have been incomplete. Below, the last 2 soldiers stood back to back, weapons shaking. The human stood across from them, blood dripping onto the floor. He was limping now. One arm hung lower than the other. Still, his eyes burned. One soldier charged, screaming. The human sidestepped and let the alien crash into the other. Both fell. The human did not move for a second. Then he walked forward and struck once. Both soldiers stopped moving. The arena was silent again. The queen slowly raised her hand. Every soldier outside the arena aimed their weapons at the human. Do not fire, she said. Her voice was calm, but something new hid beneath it. Unease. The human stood alone in the center of the arena, surrounded by bodies. He swayed slightly, exhaustion finally catching him. Still, he did not kneel. The queen looked at him, truly looked at him not as a prisoner, not as a creature, but as a force. For the first time, she said softly, I understand why your kind refuses to stay conquered. The human met her gaze, and then the restraints activated again. Energy wrapped around his body, slamming him to the ground. He grunted but did not scream. The soldiers rushed in, careful now, fearful now, binding him with layers of restraints. As they dragged him away, the crowd watched in stunned silence. The queen sat back down, her mind racing. What she had seen was not an accident. It was a warning. The arena felt heavier than before. Dust hung in the air, swirling with the cries of the crowd. The bodies of the fallen soldiers lay scattered across the floor, broken armor glinting in the harsh lights. The human was back on his feet, though his clothes were torn more and blood ran freely from cuts and bruises. His chest heaved, his arms shook slightly, but his eyes were sharp, focused, and ready. 10 soldiers now approached him from different directions, moving cautiously. These were elite fighters, selected not just for strength, but for skill. Their armor was thick, their weapons deadly, and their movements precise. Unlike the soldiers before, they had studied his kind. They had seen simulations, recordings, and reports of humans. They were prepared, or they thought they were. The human did not flinch. He watched each movement, calculating, sensing. His hands flexed, his fingers tensing like coiled steel. When the first soldier lunged with a long, serrated blade, the human moved before the attack even began. He sidestepped with a speed that surprised even him, grabbed the soldier's arm, and twisted. A loud snap echoed as the metal armor groaned, and the soldier cried out in pain. He stumbled backward, clutching his arm, unable to raise his weapon. 2 more soldiers attacked at the same time. The human ducked under a sweeping strike, his shoulder hitting the floor as he rolled. He came up behind one soldier and slammed his fist into the small of the alien's back. The soldier fell forward into the other, knocking both down. He jumped over the second, landing perfectly on his feet, and swung at the third with a sharp elbow strike. The alien fell back, dazed and gasping. The crowd's noise turned to murmurs, mixed with fear and disbelief. The queen watched from above, her eyes narrowing. She had seen powerful species before, but nothing like this. Her soldiers had fought countless worlds, annihilated civilizations, yet this one human seemed to defy every law of combat. She leaned forward slightly, her claws tapping the armrest of her throne. "He is too strong, too fast, too unpredictable," she whispered. The human moved again, his eyes scanning the circle of soldiers. He was bleeding from several cuts, his left arm hanging slightly lower than it should, but his expression showed no fear. Every muscle was tense, ready to strike, to move, to survive. A soldier tried to flank him from behind. The human spun, catching the soldier by the helmet and yanking him backward. The soldier's knees hit the floor hard, and his weapon skidded across the arena. Without hesitation, the human used his elbow to strike the alien's ribs, a loud crack echoing across the space. The soldier collapsed, groaning. 2 soldiers hesitated. They moved slowly, unsure. This hesitation was all the human needed. He charged forward with incredible speed, slamming his shoulder into one soldier's chest. The alien flew backward, crashing into the other. The second stumbled but regained his stance, swinging his weapon wildly. The human grabbed the weapon hand, twisted it violently, and sent the soldier sprawling to the ground. Every strike was precise, calculated, but brutal. The human was not using technique, he was using instinct. Years of survival, pain, and hardship had taught him how to fight with everything he had. He was not thinking about honor, glory, or strategy. He was thinking about one thing: survival. And the aliens were not used to that kind of determination. The elite soldiers regrouped, their movements now cautious, almost fearful. They had been trained to fight and win, but this human was breaking their expectations. They tried to attack together, but each move they made was countered. He dodged, grabbed, struck, rolled, and spun in a blur of movement. By the time one soldier realized what had happened, 2 of his comrades were already on the ground, groaning, unable to rise. The crowd shifted, many of the aliens stepping back in surprise. This was not supposed to happen. Their queen had sent the strongest soldiers, the best-trained warriors, and they were falling like leaves in the wind. The murmurs became louder, a low hum of fear spreading across the arena. The queen's eyes glowed faintly as she studied the human. She had never felt fear before, not real fear. She had controlled countless worlds, commanded fleets of millions, and crushed rebellion after rebellion. Yet now, watching one human, she felt a new sensation, sharp and cold. This human was a force she could not control. She leaned back, her claws tightening on the throne. One of her advisors whispered, "Your Majesty, he should be dead by now." Perhaps we underestimated him? The queen's gaze remained fixed. Perhaps. Or perhaps he is different. Below, the human was breathing heavily, his muscles trembling, but his stance was steady. The remaining soldiers tried to circle him to trap him, but he anticipated every move. When one soldier lunged from the left, he caught the alien's wrist and slammed him against a fallen comrade. Another tried to strike from the right, but the human rolled under the blow, kicking the alien's legs out from under him. He moved as if he were part of the arena itself, using every surface, every object, every bit of space to his advantage. Metal plates became weapons. Broken armor became shields. Every hit he delivered was fast, brutal, and final. The queen's voice rang out, calm but carrying a weight that silenced even the crowd. "Stop!" The soldiers froze. Some did not even look at her. They were too focused on the human. She raised a clawed hand. "Do not strike him down yet." Confusion passed over the soldiers' faces. They had been ordered to attack. Now they were ordered to hold. The human, breathing heavily, did not stop either. He looked at them, muscles tense, eyes sharp. He did not speak. He did not smile. He waited. The queen tilted her head. "Let us see how far he will go." A few scientists and scholars nearby whispered among themselves. One said, "He is breaking every law of combat. Nothing should allow him to survive this long." Another replied, "Perhaps humans are more resilient than we thought." The human was aware of the pause. He flexed his hands, his knuckles raw and bleeding. He scanned the circle of soldiers, looking for the next move. One of the soldiers raised a weapon hesitantly. The human stepped forward, and the soldier froze. Fear had entered their hearts. They had been trained to fight, to kill, to dominate. But none had faced this. He took a deep breath and lunged. One soldier tried to swing a weapon, but the human grabbed his arm, slammed him into the ground, and twisted him into submission. Another charged, but the human used the alien's momentum, flipping him over backward. The remaining soldiers stepped back, their attacks hesitant, slow. They were no longer confident. They were cautious, afraid. The human's chest heaved. Blood ran down his face. Cuts on his arms burned. He could feel exhaustion creeping in, but he pushed it aside. Survival was stronger than pain. Survival was stronger than fear. The alien soldiers were learning this truth now. The queen leaned forward, intrigued. She had studied humans before, but this was different. She had expected fear, she had expected weakness. Instead, she saw strength, intelligence, and raw, unstoppable will. One soldier tried to escape, moving toward the edge of the arena. The human noticed and acted instantly. He closed the distance, grabbed the alien by the armor, and slammed him to the floor. The soldier's weapon skidded away, useless. The human stood over him, chest rising and falling, eyes burning. The crowd was silent again. They watched as one human faced 10 elite soldiers and survived. Some whispered prayers, others trembled. The queen remained calm on the surface, but inside her thoughts raced. She had not felt this before. Her empire had faced threats, rebellion, even betrayal. But this human was something she could not predict, something she could not control. The human shifted his weight, ready for the next attack. The soldiers had regrouped slightly, forming a hesitant circle around him. They were no longer confident. Every movement was careful, every strike measured. They were afraid of being the next to fall. The human smiled slightly, not in triumph, but in acknowledgement. He knew they were afraid. He knew he had shown them what humans could do when cornered. The queen's eyes widened slightly. She did not expect this human to not only survive, but to dominate the elite fighters she had personally chosen. The human took another deep breath. He rolled his shoulders, his arms trembling with pain but still strong. He focused on the soldiers, watching their every movement. They had learned something in these few minutes. Humans could fight, humans could survive, and humans could kill with nothing but instinct and raw strength. One soldier lunged. The human reacted instinctively, catching the arm and using the momentum to throw him into another. Another tried to swing, but he ducked, grabbed the alien's legs, and slammed him down. The arena echoed with the sound of bodies hitting metal. Each impact was a statement. Humans were not weak. Humans were not fragile. Humans were not to be underestimated. The queen leaned back, her claws digging into the armrest. She had seen many things in her time, but this human was different. She had expected a fight, but not a display of such raw, unstoppable power. Fear touched her mind for the first time in centuries. "Stop them," she whispered to her commanders. "Do not let them underestimate this human again." The elite soldiers hesitated, their attacks faltering. The human remained standing, his body trembling, his face bloodied, his clothes torn. He was exhausted, but his eyes still burned with determination. He had survived. He had fought. And the queen knew something vital now. This one human could change everything. The human took one final look around. The soldiers hesitated. The queen watched him closely, realizing that she was witnessing something extraordinary, a force that could not be measured, predicted, or controlled. And then he moved toward the edge of the circle, prepared for whatever came next. The soldiers prepared again, fear and hesitation written clearly on their faces. The queen leaned forward, realizing that the test was not over, and that what came next would show just how dangerous humans could truly be. The arena waited. The human waited. And the soldiers, trembling, knew that this fight was far from finished. The arena was quiet now, but the air was thick with tension. Broken bodies lay scattered, weapons abandoned, and blood glistened under the harsh lights. The human stood in the center, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling with effort. Cuts and bruises covered his body, but his eyes were still alive, sharp, and focused. The remaining soldiers hesitated, unsure if they could continue. Their confidence had vanished. They had never faced a human like this before. The queen observed from her throne above, her glowing eyes fixed on him. For centuries she had commanded countless worlds. She had faced armies, traitors, and invaders, yet the human before her was different. He moved with speed and strength that defied reason. The mind, trained to calculate war and control soldiers, found no solution to the presence of this one being. She felt something she had never allowed herself to feel. Fear. "Send a royal guard," she said quietly, her voice cold but trembling slightly. "I want to see if he can face those who are truly unstoppable." At her command, a group of towering figures descended from a hidden platform above the arena. They were the queen's personal soldiers, genetically enhanced and trained from birth to serve only her. Their armor was dark, almost black, and their weapons glowed with energy. Every step they took made the ground vibrate. The crowd gasped. They were feared across the galaxy. No ordinary species could face them and survive. The human watched them approach, sensing the shift in power immediately. His wounds burned, his muscles screamed with fatigue, but he did not step back. He clenched his fists, his knuckles raw and bleeding. He had faced elite soldiers before, but now he would face the deadliest of the queen's warriors. Still, his eyes held a quiet confidence. Survival had taught him that fear was a choice. He chose not to feel it. The royal guard stopped in a wide circle around him. They did not rush, they did not speak. Their eyes glowed faintly, studying him. The human knew they were strong, stronger than anyone he had ever fought. Their movements would be precise, their attacks fast and deadly. He could not underestimate them. He flexed his fingers, tested his arms, and steadied his breathing. The leader of the royal guard stepped forward. His presence alone made the air heavy. His armor was layered with unknown alloys, and his sword seemed alive, pulsing with light. The leader studied the human, and in a calm voice said, "You should not have come here." The human did not reply. He did not need to. His body spoke for him. The leader attacked first. Further, he moved with incredible speed, closing the distance in moments. His sword swung in a wide arc, slicing through the air like a blade of lightning. The human ducked under it, rolling forward and rose behind the leader. He struck with his elbow into the alien's back, but the leader shifted easily, absorbing the strike and spinning to face him. Two other guards attacked simultaneously. The human reacted instantly, dodging a strike from the left, twisting away from a strike from the right. He grabbed one guard by the shoulder and slammed him into the other. Both soldiers fell, but recovered quickly. Their speed was unlike anything he had faced before. Every movement was precise, calculated, almost mechanical. Yet he met them blow for blow, strike for strike. The human felt every pain, every ache, every burn of his muscles, but he did not stop. He fought with instinct, with rage, with the determination to survive. The royal guards attacked together now, coordinated perfectly. Their energy blades cut through the air, their punches smashed against the ground, shaking it. The human blocked one strike with his forearm, dodged another, and countered with a punch that sent a guard sprawling. The crowd watched in stunned silence. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were the deadliest warriors in the galaxy, and yet one human was standing against them, bleeding, battered, but alive. He moved like a storm, unpredictable, unstoppable. The queen leaned forward, her claws gripping the armrest. She had expected this fight to end quickly, with her guards demonstrating dominance. Instead, she watched as one human defied everything she had trained her mind to believe. She realized that humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and ruthless. One guard leaped high, aiming a strike directly at the human's head. He caught it with his forearm, staggering back but keeping his balance. He twisted, grabbed the guard by the waist, and slammed him into the ground with such force that the arena floor shook. The guard rolled away, groaning, but rose immediately, ready to fight again. Another guard rushed from behind. The human ducked, grabbed the soldier by the arm, and used his own momentum to throw him into the guard he had just slammed down. Both soldiers fell hard, but rose quickly, circling him with caution. The human's vision blurred with exhaustion. His body was covered in cuts, bruises, and burns. Every step hurt, every movement demanded everything he had left. And yet, he did not stop. He could not stop. He had learned that humans survived because they refused to surrender, because they pushed past limits, and because fear did not control them. The Royal Guard adjusted their strategy. They attacked as one, moving like a single organism. Their swords and energy weapons struck from multiple directions. The human blocked one, dodged another, and twisted away from a third. He grabbed one guard's arm, pulled him forward, and threw him into the others. Chaos filled the arena as bodies collided, weapons clashed, and the human moved with speed that seemed impossible. The queen spoke quietly, almost to herself. "So this is what they call resilience. This is what humans are capable of." She had always believed her soldiers were the best in the galaxy, but now she understood something new. Humans could survive impossible odds. They could fight with nothing but instinct and raw will. Human landed from a jump, rolling to absorb the impact, and rose to face the Royal Guard again. One soldier swung a massive blade, aiming for his shoulder. The human caught it, twisting the alien's arm and sending him to the ground. Another guard tried to strike from behind. He spun, caught the wrist, and slammed the soldier into the arena floor. The crowd's murmurs became louder, fear mixed with awe. They had never seen a human fight like this. They had never seen one survive against such deadly enemies. The queen leaned back, her mind racing. She had underestimated this species. She had treated humans as weak, but now she knew the truth. One human could face her elite guards and survive. One human could change the outcome of entire wars. The leader of the Royal Guard attacked again, faster than before. His sword moved like lightning, aiming for the human's neck. The human ducked, twisted, and grabbed the sword hand. With a forceful twist, he disarmed the guard, sending the blade skidding across the floor. He struck the alien with his elbow, making him stumble backward. 2 guards moved to flank him from both sides. The human reacted without hesitation, spinning to block one strike and elbowing the other guard in the stomach. They fell to their knees, gasping. The queen watched silently. For centuries she had commanded respect, fear, and loyalty. Yet the human before her was not afraid. He was battered, bleeding, and exhausted, but he still stood, ready to fight. She had seen armies crumble under her command, entire species fall, but this single human, had resisted everything she threw at him. The human's body screamed in pain, his muscles burned, his wounds throbbed, but he did not stop. He had faced death before, in many forms. He had survived against impossible odds. He had learned that humans could endure, that humans could fight, and that humans could overcome what others thought impossible. The royal guards adjusted again, attacking with precision and speed. But the human anticipated their moves. He blocked, dodged, and countered. He struck with fists, elbows, and knees. He used every movement to his advantage. Every attack was met with a response. Every strike he delivered forced the guards to retreat slightly. The arena shook with the force of their battle. Sparks flew as weapons clashed against metal. Blood ran across the floor. The crowd watched in stunned silence, unable to look away. The human moved like a force of nature, unstoppable, untouchable, relentless. The queen spoke again, her voice quiet but firm. "Enough," she said. "Hold him." The royal guards froze, unsure. They had been trained to obey without question. They had been trained to dominate, to kill, to conquer. Yet this human had taught them fear. They hesitated, and hesitation could be fatal. The human's eyes burned with determination. He stood his ground, ready for whatever came next. The queen's mind raced. She realized that humans were not just survivors. They were warriors, capable of facing the deadliest forces in the galaxy and surviving. The human took a deep breath. He knew the battle was not over. The royal guards were not finished. But he also knew something important. He had already won a victory that could not be measured by bodies or weapons. He had shown strength, courage, and determination. He had shown that humans could not be controlled or defeated easily. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. She understood now that one human could change everything. That one human could force her to reconsider everything she believed. That one human could challenge the might of her empire itself. The human flexed his fists. He did not step back. He did not surrender. He was ready for whatever came next, and the royal guards prepared again, trembling slightly, knowing that this fight would be remembered for generations. The arena waited. The human waited. The queen waited. And all around, silence fell, heavy with the weight of what had just occurred, and what was still to come. The human had been taken from the arena. He was no longer facing soldiers or cheering crowds. Instead, he found himself in a large chamber, deep within the queen's fortress. The walls were metal, polished but cold, with strange glowing lines running along them. The air smelled of machinery and antiseptic. Bright lights hummed overhead, and strange devices monitored every movement he made. He was placed on a platform that lifted him slightly off the ground. The restraints were more advanced this time, glowing with energy and designed to restrict not only his movement but also his strength. The human flexed his hands, testing the restraints. They were strong, designed to hold even a being stronger than ordinary aliens. Yet he remained calm. He had survived worse. Pain, exhaustion, and fear had taught him how to endure. Several figures entered the chamber. They wore uniforms that marked them as scientists, scholars, and observers. They had come to study him, to understand the power they had seen in the arena. Their eyes were wide with curiosity, fear, and awe. They whispered among themselves, pointing to screens that showed data from the fight. Every heartbeat, every movement, every strike he had delivered was recorded, analyzed, and compared. The queen entered last. She moved with grace, though her presence filled the room with an almost suffocating weight. Her armor reflected the lights, and her glowing eyes were fixed on the human. For a moment she said nothing. She did not need to. Her gaze alone told him that he had been studied, measured, and evaluated. "You survived," she said finally. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "Against my soldiers. Against my elite guard. How is it possible?" The human remained silent. He did not explain. He had no reason to. His body, his actions, and the pain he had endured already spoke louder than words. The queen approached slowly, her movements deliberate. "You are stronger than any record shows. Faster, smarter, and more resilient. You were not defeated. Not even when every force I sent against you tried to kill you." The human's eyes followed her. He did not flinch, did not show fear. He had been trained to survive. He had learned to face threats, to adapt, to fight, and to endure. His body was battered, but his mind was sharp, and his spirit was unbroken. A scholar stepped forward, holding a device that displayed charts and images. "Your Majesty," he said, voice trembling slightly, "our knowledge of humans is incomplete. This human, does things we did not expect. No species we have studied could survive or respond as he did. His reactions, his instincts, his strength," the scholar hesitated. "It is beyond our calculations." The Queen listened carefully. She had always trusted knowledge, data, and analysis. Yet now she realized that no calculation could predict what she had witnessed. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable in ways she could not measure. She had believed her empire was invincible, her forces unmatched. Now she understood that one human could challenge everything she had built. The human shifted slightly on the platform. His body ached, his wounds burned, but he did not complain. He had been through far worse than this. Pain was a tool, a reminder that he was alive. He focused on his surroundings, noting the movements of the guards, the positions of the observers, and the energy of the restraints. He searched for weakness, opportunity, anything he could use. The Queen's gaze never left him. "Do you know what you are?" she asked. "Do you understand what your kind represents?" The human's expression did not change. He did not answer. Words were unnecessary. His actions in the arena had already answered the question. Humans were survivors, fighters, and predators when cornered. The Queen could sense it, feel it, and now she had to confront it. The scientist whispered again. One pointed to a screen showing the human's heart rate, another to muscle response, another to adrenaline levels. "He should be exhausted," one said. "He should be broken. Yet he is not." The Queen nodded slowly. "Humans endure beyond limits. They fight without reason. They survive without logic. That is why they cannot be conquered easily." Her eyes narrowed. "And that is why they must be studied, understood, and contained." The human looked at her then. His eyes were steady. He was not afraid. He had faced death, pain, and overwhelming odds before. He had survived. He had fought. He had won. And now he was ready for whatever came next. A technician approached, adjusting the restraints slightly. "We will learn from him," the Queen said. "We will understand the secrets of his strength. Perhaps then we can control what cannot be predicted." The human felt the restraints tighten. He grunted but did not resist. He waited, watching, calculating. He had survived worse, fought harder, and faced stronger opponents. This was another challenge, another obstacle, another test, and he would endure it. The Queen circled him slowly, her eyes glowing faintly. "Your species has been underestimated for too long," she said. "You survive when others die. You fight when others flee. You are remarkable." The human did not respond. He only breathed, his body tense, ready. His mind worked, observing the weaknesses in the guard's stance, the angles of the chamber, the energy patterns of the restraints. He was ready to act, ready to fight if necessary. One of the scholars spoke again. "Your Majesty, should we continue to test him? Should we push him further?" The Queen paused. "Yes, but carefully. We must understand the limits of humans. We must know how far they can go." The human felt a slight shift in the platform. The restraints glowed brighter, energy flowing through them. He gritted his teeth, muscles tensing. Pain shot through him, but he did not cry out. He did not struggle yet, he observed. He waited. Survival had taught him patience. Every enemy, every trap, every obstacle could be turned into advantage if he remained calm. The Queen leaned closer. "You have seen my soldiers, my elite guard. You have faced death in forms that should have destroyed you. Yet you are here, alive. Stronger than before. Why do you fight?" The human's jaw tightened. He did not speak. Words were not needed. His eyes, steady and unflinching, told the answer. He fought because he must. Body, he fought because he could. He fought because humans did not surrender. The Queen studied him, realizing that no force she commanded could break the human's will. She had tried armies, tactics, and fear. None had succeeded. And now she understood that humans were not just survivors. They were warriors, born from struggle, hardened by survival, and fearless in the face of impossible odds. The guards adjusted their positions, more cautious now. They had been trained to hold anything, capture anything, control anything, yet the human's presence demanded respect, fear, and awareness. Every step he made, every breath, every twitch of muscle was noted. They had faced strong opponents before, but none like him. The queen withdrew slightly, her mind racing. She had underestimated humans. She had treated them as weak, insignificant, manageable. Now she saw the truth. Humans were unpredictable, humans were dangerous, and humans could inspire fear in the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The human flexed his fingers again. The pain from his wounds pulsed sharply, but he welcomed it. It reminded him that he was alive, that he was still capable, that he could still act. The scholars and guards whispered among themselves, watching, analyzing, and learning. The queen's voice broke the quiet. "We will not kill you yet," she said. "We must understand your kind. We must know how far you can go. Perhaps then we will know how to deal with your species in the future." The human did not reply. He only remained tense, alert, and ready. He had survived every obstacle thrown at him. He had fought stronger enemies, faster enemies, smarter enemies, and lived. He knew survival was a constant challenge, and he welcomed it. The queen turned away, signaling the guards to maintain their positions. The scholars continued to study him, recording, analyzing, and calculating. Yet none could predict the human's next move. None could calculate his will, his strength, or his endurance. The human remained still for a moment, breathing deeply, letting his mind observe everything. The restraints glowed, energy flowing through them, designed to limit him, to contain him. He had learned that no trap, no cage, no obstacle could break a human spirit when it refused to be broken. The queen left the room, her eyes lingering on him one last time. She knew she had witnessed something extraordinary. One human had survived forces meant to destroy him. One human had faced the deadliest soldiers in the galaxy and endured. One human had proven that the species she had dismissed as weak could be a force unlike any she had ever faced. The human flexed his hands again, ready, alert, and alive. He had survived the arena. He had survived the royal guards. And now, in the chamber deep within the fortress, he would survive this. He would endure. He would fight. And he would remain a force that none could predict, none could control, and none could break. The silence in the chamber was heavy, almost suffocating. The human's eyes scanned the room, noting the machines, the guards, and the queen's absence. He understood the challenge ahead. The restraints were strong, but he had faced worse. The energy pulsed through him, yet he welcomed it. Pain, struggle, and endurance had always been his teachers. The scholars whispered among themselves, unsure what to do next. The guards remained tense, uncertain. And the human remained still, his eyes burning, his body tense, his mind sharp, ready for the next move, whatever it might be. The chamber waited. The human waited. And in the silence, a single truth became clear. Humans could not be predicted, controlled, or easily broken. One human could defy even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The human flexed again, testing his strength. He would endure. He would survive. And one day he would turn the lessons of this chamber against those who tried to contain him. The story of humans, the queen realized, was only beginning, and it would be written in defiance, strength, and fear that no empire could ignore. The alarms echoed through the fortress long before the human realized what was happening. Red lights flashed across the walls, reflecting off polished metal floors and glowing panels. The human felt the vibrations through the platform he was restrained on. His eyes narrowed, scanning the room. Something had changed. Something big was coming. Outside the chamber, massive doors opened with a hiss. Soldiers ran, but they were not running to fight. They were running to see. And then, far above the planet, the sky glowed with thousands of points of light moving in unison. Human warships. They were not large in number compared to the Empire, but their formation was precise, coordinated, and fearless. Their presence was enough to send shockwaves through the defenders. The Queen was informed immediately. She appeared in the command room, her eyes scanning the holographic displays. "Humans are here," a commander said, voice trembling. "They are entering the system in force." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She had expected threats from other empires, from rogue systems, from rebels, but humans arriving so boldly, so confidently, so quickly, changed everything. She knew the human she had captured in the arena was only the beginning. The fleet behind him would be the real test. Back in the chamber, the human could feel it. He could sense the change, the shift in the energy around him, the panic of the guards, and the tension of the Queen. He did not wait for anyone to act. The restraints sparked, but he did not struggle yet. He waited, observing, calculating. Survival had taught him patience. A human always looked for the right moment to act. The fortress shook as alarms continued to blare. The Queen's guards ran to stations, preparing defenses, raising shields, and readying weapons. Ships outside fired warning beams, energy pulses lighting the sky. Humans did not hesitate. They were precise, coordinated, moving fast, ignoring conventional tactics. Their ships dodged defenses, weaving through barriers, their energy weapons striking alien fortifications with terrifying accuracy. The Queen clenched her fists. Her empire had faced fleets before, entire armadas, and crushed them. But humans were different. They did not play by the rules. They ignored fear, logic, and probability. They acted, struck, and adapted in ways the Queen had not anticipated. Her scholars and advisors whispered urgently. "Your Majesty, they are different. These tactics are unusual. They defy logic." The human felt it. He had fought alone, using instinct, strength, and will. He had survived impossible odds, and now his species had arrived to join him. He flexed his wrists inside the restraints, feeling the energy that tried to bind him. Soon, he thought, soon, he would be free, and the fight would continue, but not in this chamber. Outside, chaos erupted. Alien soldiers scrambled to defend key positions, but human tactics were unpredictable. Ships moved where none expected, fired in patterns that no algorithm had predicted. Shields fell, turrets overheated. Command centers were struck before defenders could respond. Panic spread among the Queen's forces. They were trained to control, to dominate, to anticipate. Now they faced a force that ignored all predictions, all strategies, all fears. Inside the chamber, the human acted. The restraints sparked violently, but he used the energy. He twisted his arms, feeling the power of the energy against him, and in one brutal motion snapped the bindings. Sparks flew, the metal restraints bent and cracked. He landed on the floor, free. Pain shot through his body, but he did not care. Radom. Freedom was his weapon now. Guards rushed to him, weapons raised. The human moved faster than they could react. He slammed one into the wall, disarming him. He twisted, grabbed another, and threw him into a console. Alarms screamed as the console sparked. Lights flickered and machines groaned. The remaining guards hesitated. Fear had entered them. They had faced elite humans in the arena before, but this human now had the advantage. The Queen observed from the command room. Her eyes glowed faintly. She had underestimated humans before, but now she saw the full picture. The human inner chamber was only a glimpse of what his species could do. He fought with precision, instinct, and raw strength. The fleet outside fought with the same fearlessness. The Queen realized that humans were not only survivors but warriors, fearless, coordinated, and relentless. The human moved through the chamber with purpose. He used the guards' weight against them, twisted weapons away, and avoided every strike. He was fast, precise, and brutal. Every movement he made inspired fear. The Queen's guards, trained to face anything, were falling back, their hesitation growing. The doors of the chamber opened suddenly. Reinforcements rushed in, more guards armed with energy weapons, more soldiers moving to contain him. But the human did not stop. He used the walls, the consoles, the floor itself as weapons. Every strike was calculated, every movement efficient. Guards fell, groaning, disarmed, or knocked unconscious. The room shook with the force of his attacks. The Queen's advisors whispered again. "Your Majesty, he is unstoppable. Even restrained, he is defeating them." The Queen nodded slowly. She had known humans were strong, but this was different. One human had survived the deadliest soldiers in her empire. Now, the fleet had arrived, and countless more humans would join the fight. Her empire had been confident in its power, in its control. Now she realized the truth. Humans could not be contained, controlled, or easily defeated. The human moved toward the exit. He saw the path, calculated the movements of the remaining guards, and acted. In moments the door was open, and he stepped into the corridor beyond. He did not look back. I would be so happy. He did not hesitate. He had survived the arena, the chamber, and now he would join the battle outside. Outside the fortress, the sky was alive with energy and fire. Human ships moved with precision, striking alien defenses, disabling weapons, and creating openings. Alien forces tried to respond, but human tactics were unpredictable. Every move forced them to react, to adjust, to panic. They had never faced an enemy like this. The humans sprinted down the corridors, moving faster than any guard could follow. He reached a control room and activated systems, opening doors, disabling barriers, and creating pathways for the incoming humans. Every action he took gave his species an advantage. Every movement was part of a larger plan, though instinct guided him as much as strategy. The Queen watched the battle unfold from above. Her confidence, her power, and her control were slipping. She had seen humans survive impossible odds, defeat elite soldiers, and now join forces with their fleet. Her empire, once unchallenged, was facing a force that refused to follow logic, that ignored fear, and that fought with relentless determination. The human reached the roof of the fortress. From there he could see the battlefield clearly. The alien defenses were faltering. Human ships moved with deadly precision, striking where none expected. Alien soldiers tried to regroup, but the human on the roof inspired fear. He was no longer alone. He was a part of a force that the Queen had never imagined. He leapt into action, fighting alongside the incoming soldiers and marines of his species. Together they pushed through corridors, dismantling defenses, freeing prisoners, and disabling weapons. Every alien who had once feared humans now faced them in force, and the tide of battle began to turn. The Queen realized that this fight was not over, but the outcome was shifting. One human had survived everything she threw at him. Now many humans fought alongside him, fearless, relentless, and coordinated. The human species was proving its strength, not just in instinct and survival, but in unity and strategy. The human moved with the others, fighting, guiding, and surviving. Every step, every strike, every decision reinforced the truth the Queen could no longer deny. Humans were not weak, humans were not fragile, and humans could not be underestimated. The battle continued, but the advantage had shifted. Alien soldiers faltered, defenses fell, and the human fleet pressed forward. The human warrior who had faced the arena, the elite guards, and the chamber now fought alongside his species. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were a force the Queen had never faced. And as the human led the charge through the fortress, the Queen understood fully for the first time that her empire, for all its power, could not control the future when humans chose to fight. The battle had reached its peak. Alien defenses were crumbling, energy barriers flickered and failed, and the human fleet pressed relentlessly against the Empire's forces. Fires burned across the surface of the planet, smoke rising into the darkened sky. The human warrior, the one who had survived the arena, the royal guards, and the chamber, moved at the forefront of the assault, leading soldiers and marines of his species with unyielding determination. The Queen stood on her command platform, her glowing eyes scanning the chaos. Her armor reflected the fire and light of the battlefield. She had expected war, conflict, and resistance, but she had not expected the sheer intensity of human will. They fought differently than any other species she had faced. They did not hesitate. They did not flinch. They did not fear death. They adapted, they endured, and they struck without warning or pattern. Her elite guards had fallen or retreated. Her fleets had been damaged, many ships destroyed by precise attacks, and still the humans pushed forward. Her throne room trembled under the energy of distant blasts as the battle moved closer to her palace. Her advisors and commanders whispered urgently, fear creeping into their voices. "Your Majesty, we cannot hold them. Their tactics, they defy everything we know." The Queen's gaze remained fixed on the warrior. He moved through the battlefield like a storm, his eyes burning with determination. Soldiers who had once feared her empire now looked to him as a symbol of hope and strength. Every strike he delivered, every wall he tore through, inspired his people to fight harder. Even among the human forces, he was a force that unified them, a symbol of survival, courage, and defiance. The human reached the outer gates of the Queen's palace. Alien soldiers had formed a final defensive line, armed with energy rifles, blades, and automated turrets. They were the last barrier between the Queen and the humans. The warrior did not hesitate. He sprinted forward, dodging blasts, leaping over fallen weapons, and moving with a speed that no alien could match. Every strike he made was precise, every punch or kick disabling an enemy instantly. The soldiers tried to regroup, but hesitation had already spread among them. They remembered the arena, the chamber, and the battlefield. One human had survived impossible odds. Now, many humans fought alongside him, fearless, relentless, and unstoppable. The warrior's own fear began to undermine their training, their confidence shaken by the unrelenting human assault. The human leapt onto a turret, tearing it from its base with his bare hands. Sparks flew as it crashed to the ground, its energy beam disabled. He turned, pushing forward, taking down the soldiers who attempted to block him. Around him, his species advanced, coordinated and precise, striking at weaknesses the humans themselves discovered instinctively. The battlefield shifted. The tide had changed. The Queen finally spoke, her voice calm but heavy with tension. "Enough," she said. "Cease the fight." A murmur ran through the remaining soldiers. They looked to their Queen, unsure, hesitant. The humans paused, alert, prepared to continue the assault. The warrior, standing at the forefront, sensed her decision. His body was battered, his face bruised, his muscles screaming with exhaustion, but he remained vigilant. Survival had taught him patience, and he knew the Queen's command was part of a larger calculation. The Queen lowered her hand. Her eyes studied the human warrior carefully. She had underestimated humans for centuries. Their strength, endurance, and spirit were unlike any other species. One human had survived her deadliest soldiers, endured impossible tests, and led a fleet that had crushed her defenses. She realized then that her empire could not dominate humans by force alone. They were too adaptable, too resilient, and too fearless. Her voice echoed across the battlefield. "This species will not be destroyed," she said quietly. "They fight when others flee. They survive when others die. And they will not surrender unless they choose to." The warrior and his soldiers halted, watching, alert. His species had not been crushed. They had not been defeated. They had proven their strength, their courage, and their ability to endure against overwhelming odds. The human's gaze met the Queen's, unflinching, calm, and strong. He did not smile, but there was a quiet understanding. Victory had not been complete, but survival had been earned, and respect had been acknowledged. The remaining soldiers of the Empire lowered their weapons, some in fear, some in recognition of the human's strength. Automated defenses powered down as the Queen's orders spread across the battlefield. The human warrior remained vigilant, ready to act if her command proved false. He had learned to expect betrayal and deception, but for now, the fighting had stopped. The Queen turned away from the warrior, her mind racing. She had faced many threats in her long reign, but humans had proven to be something unique. They could not be predicted, controlled, or underestimated. She had seen it firsthand. Their endurance, their courage, their instinct. One human had survived what no other being could, and his species had followed him with precision and fearlessness. Back on the battlefield, humans tended to their wounded and regrouped. They moved with efficiency, treating injuries, reorganizing forces, and preparing for any eventuality. The human warrior, though exhausted, walked among them, not leading with words, but with presence. His resilience inspired his species, showing that survival was possible even against impossible odds. The Queen recorded her observations for future generations. Her voice was quiet, but every word carried the weight of experience and caution. Humans cannot be conquered by force alone. They will endure. They will resist. They will survive. And when they fight together, they will challenge even the strongest empire. Remember this lesson, for it is written in fear and strength. Never underestimate a human. Never corner them. Never assume they will surrender. The warrior looked to the horizon, where the remaining alien forces had withdrawn, regrouping in fear of further human assaults. He had survived countless threats, fought against the deadliest soldiers, and now seen the arrival of his species turn the tide of battle. He had endured what many would have considered impossible. Pain, exhaustion, and fear had been his companions, but his spirit remained unbroken. The battlefield fell silent as both sides reassessed their positions. The humans had proven their power, their resilience, and their ability to survive against overwhelming odds. The Empire had learned a lesson in fear and respect. The human warrior, unnamed and uncelebrated, had shown what one individual could accomplish and how that strength could inspire an entire species. The Queen withdrew to her throne deep in thought. She had commanded countless worlds, faced countless enemies, and believed herself invincible, yet now she knew the truth. Humans were a force unlike any other. They could endure, resist, and fight with strength and strategy that defied prediction. One human had survived everything she had thrown at him, and together with his species, they had forced her to recognize a new reality. The warrior stood on the battlefield, breathing heavily, his body marked by battle. Blood ran along his arms and face. His muscles burned with exhaustion, and every step reminded him of the pain he had endured. Yet he remained vigilant, aware, and ready. He had survived the arena, the royal guards, the chamber, and the fortress assault. He had led his species to prove that humans could endure the impossible. The silence was heavy, but in it lay understanding. The Empire had been challenged, and the humans had survived. They had proven themselves not only as fighters, but as survivors, warriors, and beings that could not be underestimated. The Queen had learned a vital lesson that would be recorded for generations. The human flexed his hands, feeling the strain and pain, yet also the power that came from surviving. He had faced death countless times, and each time he had endured. Now his species had proven themselves in full force. He looked to the sky, where his fleet still moved with precision, striking at remaining alien forces. They had survived. They had won the respect of their enemy. The Queen's voice echoed one last time in her recording chambers. Humans are not weak. They are not fragile. They are not to be underestimated. One human can survive what many believe impossible, and together they can change the course of any conflict. Let this be remembered, for it is a lesson written in strength, survival, and fear. The warrior turned to face his species, his presence alone inspiring courage and confidence. They had survived, they had fought, and they had endured. The story of humans had been proven on this battlefield, and its lesson would echo through the galaxy. Do not underestimate them. Do not corner them. Do not assume they will surrender. As the human looked to the horizon, the fires of battle began to die down, the alien forces retreating, the humans regrouping, and the Queen contemplating the new reality she could no longer deny. A single truth remained. Humans were unstoppable when cornered, unyielding when challenged, and fearless when united, and this truth would not be forgotten.